Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the BenZone here. Actually, it's called the Three BenZone. My name is Ben Cornett. Um, Tonight, this is first episode of the Three BenZone basketball show here. We're going to discuss college basketball tonight. This won't be too long of a video, but I'll try and do one of these once or twice a week. I just want to let you know that right now we're in the midst of college basketball season, and it's been pretty exciting so far. The rankings just came out today. Uh, Purdue is number one again. It was Houston, but yesterday they lost to Temple at home in a nail biter. Um, and Kansas, they were number two. They unfortunately lost. They've lost two in a row. And they lost to TCU on Saturday in Kansas at the excuse me, Fog Allen Fieldhouse. Never an easy place to win a game if you're a visiting team, but TCU was able to do that. Kansas has lost two in a row. They a week ago tonight they lost to Kansas State in Manhattan. So Kansas has been kind of on a little bit of a slide as of late, but it doesn't get easier for them. I looked at their schedule tonight. They played Baylor. They're a top 15 team in the country. Tough place to play. It just doesn't get any easier, like I said. Then Saturday they got to go to Kentucky for the annual Big 12 SEC matchup. They do every year when Big 12 teams play SEC teams. They do it every year, kind of like the Big 10 ACC challenge. That's what this is. So, very tough week for the Jayhawks. Two in a row. Doesn't get any easier, as you can see my cat in the background. They go to Baylor tonight. What I'm looking for in this matchup is the guard play. Right now, I'm looking at DeJuan Harris Jr. going up against Baylor's Keontae George. Both guys are pretty good guards, some of the best in college basketball, so it should be a good matchup. But it's going to be, I think in this game, it's going to be the front court that decides it. Baylor has a good front court. So does Kansas, but it's a little young with Ernest Uday Jr., just a freshman, but he's a force inside. So Baylor's going to have a lot to handle, and I expect Kansas to actually win this game tonight. Anytime you not only lose at home, but you get blown out at home by 23 points like they did against TCU. Bill Self is like, you know what? Next morning we're going to get this. We're going to practice heavy. We're going to see what we did wrong. We're going to get back out there. So I expect a very good effort out of Kansas tonight. Again, Baylor's a good team, but I could see Kansas pulling this one out on the road, especially, two losses in a row in the Big 12. The only question now is, would they be overlooking this game with their showdown with Kentucky? Because, that's a blue blood rivalry. Kansas and Kentucky, they're like the blue bloods of college basketball. So we'll see what happens. And my kitty wants to be on camera. Say hi, Penelope. Look at her. Yeah, she likes basketball as well. So I don't want you to hog the camera too much there. So yeah, it's going to be quite a game tonight. The other team that I mentioned was Houston. They were number one last week. Now they fall to number three. Had a tough loss Sunday against Temple. Didn't see that one coming. Well, maybe we could have, but with Houston beating, or Temple lost a heartbreaker earlier, I believe, to Houston. But I still think Houston's one of the better teams in the country. Marcus Sasser is one of my favorite point guards to watch. He's just a dynamic, player. Not only can he score, but he's a good distributor of the ball. Can get everybody involved, make everybody around him better. He puts a lot of pressure on defenses. Just watch him play and you'll see what I'm talking about. So, they had a tough loss, but, they go to UCF on Wednesday. Should be a win, but you never know. We thought Temple would be a win as well. Then they got Cincinnati on Saturday. So hopefully Kelvin Sampson and that team could right the ship, get back on track. Those are not easy games in the American Athletic Conference. Again, check out Houston. They're a very good squad. Like I said, not only Marcus Sasser, but you got Emmanuel Sharp too in the backcourt. A solid shooter. In their front court, Derace Walker is one of the better forwards in college basketball. So, there might pick to at least go to the Final Four, which ironically is in Houston this year. So, there's a lot to play for that team. Some pressure, obviously, trying to get to that next step. They were in the Final Four 2 years ago, and Kelvin Sampson's done an absolutely great job turning around that program. He's been there for, I believe, about 6-7 years now. He's just absolutely made that Houston program into a powerhouse in college basketball. When's the last time Houston was a powerhouse in college basketball? You got to go all the way back to the Phi Slamma Jamma days with Clyde Drexler, Hakeem Olajuwon, and that's Hakeem Olajuwon before Hakeem Olajuwon. So, man, Houston basketball is back and it's thriving. So, Kansas and Houston. The reason I'm really spending a lot of time on those teams is I feel like those are probably the two best teams in the country. Although, I wouldn't say they're as dominant or as great as, like 2 years ago when you kind of knew the two teams, Gonzaga and Baylor were like the head above shoulders everyone else in college basketball. I won't go as far as saying Kansas and Houston is at that same level, but I feel like when we get to March, when we get down to the end of March in the tournament, those two teams most likely will be in Houston for the Final Four. Then we got to see who the other two teams are. Certainly there's a lot of good teams that can make runs. UCLA is a team that's, I think, it could be one of the best teams in the country. You got, Tiger Campbell, very good guard. Mick Cronin's done a great job turning that program around. You got Arizona, speaking of Pac-12, Tommy Lloyd in his second season, definitely has done a really good job of bringing back that brand, especially after the whole debacle and the scandal with Sean Miller and his coaching staff. It kind of hit Arizona hard there for a couple years, but Tommy Lloyd came from Gonzaga, was on Mark Few's staff, so he's really turned that program around. He did lose some players, in the NBA draft, but he's done a nice job replacing those players. And again, they're a top 10 team. Great shooting, good front court, can get it going at any time, can beat anybody at any time. Great game against UCLA on Saturday. So those two teams, probably the two top teams in the Pac-12. And, don't be surprised if, one or both those teams are playing in April, down in Houston. So, other conferences, I'm a UNLV fan. Obviously, it's been kind of a struggle so far for us. We're in the Mountain West. And speaking of the Mountain West, this is a conference that could get 3, maybe 4 teams in the NCAA tournament. New Mexico's back in the rankings in the AP. They're 25th. They've had a good week. Surprisingly, UNLV beat New Mexico a couple weeks ago in Albuquerque, but they've struggled since, haven't won a game since. So hopefully UNLV can get back on track. Kevin Kruger, it's a long process. Hopefully he gets some time to get this program back on track. They got a good player in EJ Harkless, good guard, can distribute the ball, solid scorer. got a couple of good players, some promising prospects, but again, this is going to take time. It's not. This is a 3 or 4 year project. He's got to get his recruits in, um, and then implement his style of basketball. Kevin Kruger's more of a you know get at you defensively. Full court press kind of reminds you of the Nolan Richardson days, the 40 minutes of hell. So hopefully my Rebels can get back on track and get back to being a pretty good college basketball program. And we're rooting for Kevin Kruger. His father, Lon Kruger, coached the Rebels in the mid 2000s, got him to a Sweet 16 in 2007. And ironically, his son, Kevin Kruger, played on that team. So, and little note here, Kevin Kruger was one of the first, graduate transfers to play in college basketball. He was at Arizona State, graduated, then he had an extra year of eligibility, used it, went to UNLV, and 15 years later, he's a head coach for the Rebels. So good stuff there. The Mountain West, it's a good conference. If you guys get a chance to watch it, watch some games there, go ahead and watch it. Like tonight, New Mexico goes to Reno, plays Nevada. Steve Alford, former coach of Iowa, played at Indiana, trying to get Nevada back into the, top of the Mountain West. They had Eric Musselman there who got them all the way to an Elite Eight a few years ago. Then Eric went to Arkansas, took the job there. So, Nevada kind of in the same spot as UNLV, maybe a little bit ahead, trying to rebuild that program as well. So, like I said, the Mountain West it's a fun conference. If you guys get a chance to watch, check out those games. San Diego State's probably the best team in that conference. New Mexico is probably the second best team. Boise State's a good team. So at least three of those teams right now, and Nevada, so four. I believe three of the four are so far, according to bracketologies on ESPN and CBS Sports, that there's three teams in the Mountain West that are in that bracketology as of right now. So, like I said, it's early. We still got a month and a half to go, but a lot can change. It doesn't get any easier for any team, in the top 25. It's a long season, but we're getting close. March is coming. My favorite time of year. We're going to do bracketology here on this show on the 2-3 BenZone. We'll talk about it even on Have At It every Friday nights. Like I said, this is just a little taste of what you're going to get on these shows, college basketball. We'll even do some NBA, but I thought for right now, we're knee deep into the college basketball season. So that's what we're going to focus on as of now here on the 2-3 BenZone. So I'll do these shows. They won't be too long, do about 15, 20-minute shows. Like I said, right now the main focus is on college basketball. It's one of my favorite sports. I know I got a lot of friends that love college basketball like I do. I've followed it all my life, so I love talking about it just as much as the NFL, as much as college football, and other stuff. So, like I said, it's just a little sample size of what you're going to see on these shows. So, with that being said, check out, if you're going to watch a game tonight, check out Kansas and Baylor. That's a top 10 matchup. And a sneaky good game, New Mexico at Nevada. That'll be at 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific on, I believe it's Fox Sports 1. And Kansas Baylor will be on ESPN in about a couple minutes from now. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and take off. But like I said, like and share this show. Tell everybody about the 2-3 BenZone. This will be a basketball show strictly. We're going to do some other shows too as well. I got a wrestling show I keep talking about that I want to do as well. So we do have a couple comments here real quick. Johnny Dean, sup, Ben? Hey, Johnny, how you doing, man? Thank you for tuning in. It's not football, it's basketball. So, but if you want to talk hoops, Johnny, we can do that. Sean Spencer, what's up, Ben? Hey, Sean, thanks for tuning in, man. Appreciate it. Sean's got a group called Let's Talk College Basketball, strictly for college basketball. Great group, by the way, Sean. I'll share this on the page. Sean also says, love the name. Appreciate that, Sean. Thank you. And Sean says, let me know when you go on and I'll try to join next. Oh, absolutely. And I watched your show earlier. You got a lot of stuff to do. Like I said, Sean, I'm going to bring you on, but tonight was just kind of a small sample size of what we're going to do on this show. I'll probably do them every Monday night. I'll try and do one on Saturday. Because Saturday is really it's a big buffet of college basketball games, Saturday and Sunday. So yeah, I'll DM you. We'll find a time, get you on here, especially with your group. It'd be perfect to put this show on and show them, try to get more people to join in as well. So I appreciate you coming in. Johnny, don't care, talk anything. Okay. You sure? Because I'm going to do a baseball show. That's coming up as well. So, maybe you won't. Maybe that one you won't be on, but no, I'm kidding. Sean says, please do. I want people to watch you. Well, I appreciate that, Sean. Very much so. Like I said, I love college basketball. This is almost as much as the NFL. I know Johnny didn't cover years, but I'm a UNLV fan. I mean, we go back to the days where it was Freddie Banks, Larry Johnson, Stacey Augman, Anderson Hunt, Greg Anthony, George Ackles. I mean, Butler, Armin Gilliam. Talk about those days. I mean, it shows you how old I am too. The national title in '90, the 38 game win streak. Until we ran into Duke in '91 in the Final Four, which I'm not afraid to admit it. It broke my heart. I cried after that game. That was our chance to repeat, and we couldn't do it. Instead, Duke did it. They won 91 and 92. I say F Christian Laettner and F Bobby Hurley. But Grant Hill's okay. He's a great player. So, okay, perfect. My thoughts exactly. Yeah, Sean. Speaking of Sean, UNC. We'll talk about them. They had their big anniversary or their 30-year anniversary of the '93 Final Four team. Talk about that was the team that beat the Fab Five. That was George Lynch, Eric Montross, holy Dante Calabria. I mean, talk about 30 years ago, man. What a team that was in the '90s. UNC. I could go on and on. UNC and Duke pretty much ruled the '90s. I mean, fair enough, right? They ruled the '90s. Man, North Carolina had some great teams, man. Great players. My God, we could just name them: George Lynch, Eric Montross, God, like Antoine Jameson, Vince Carter. We could go back further. We got Rasheed Wallace, Jerry Stackhouse, Jeff McInnes. I mean, need I go on more? Whew, that Carolina team. I'm kind of a fan of North Carolina too, because basketball. Because I don't like Duke, so so I kind of rooted for Carolina in the '90s. Always had great players. I mean, we'll talk more about that, Sean. We get with you next time you're on. Johnny says, well, maybe not anything. There you go. I kind of knew that. I was about to say, let's talk baseball. Yeah, Sean. And that's one Johnny will definitely not watch. I agree on Duke. Yeah. Not. Ugh. But you know what, Sean? You got to take pride in the fact that they're the team that retired Mike Krzyzewski. So last year in the final, they sent Mike Krzyzewski out with a loss. So that should if for nothing else, that's the best memory you can have for North Carolina and their national titles. So awesome. The timeout game, yeah. Yeah, what could have been. And, in that game, too, let's remember something. Before that timeout, refs missed a call. Chris Webber traveled with the basketball. Um, yeah, so, that's quite a game. Quite a game. I watched that game with my dad who went to UNC in the early 80s. Oh, nice. Nice. So your dad went to UNC. Cool. Man, come on. He had to have met Jordan, right? James Worthy, Kenny Smith. I mean, he had to have met those guys, right? Talked to him once or something. Man, lucky dude, man. Johnny Dean, UConn, Kentucky, Florida, maybe Pitt and and UNLV. Those are my college teams for basketball. Yeah, absolutely. Pittsburgh right now, they're Jeff Capel's doing a pretty good job at Pittsburgh, trying to turn that program around. It's been quite a while. Jamie Dixon left that program, went to TCU. Haven't really been the same since. But hopefully they can get that turned around. And like you said, Kentucky, I mean, blue bloods of college basketball. Florida, I mean, they're trying to get back. Mike White hopefully can turn that around. Haven't Florida really hasn't done much since the Billy Donovan days. Talk about those teams back in 06, 07. That was the last time I believe a team has repeated as national champions. That was the Joakim Noah days, Al Horford, Lee Humphrey. Those were great teams. And yeah, Florida's had some good players. So we'll see if they can get that turned around. That was so lovely seeing them going out against last year in the Final Four. Oh, absolutely, dude. And look, in all seriousness, even though I don't like Duke, Mike Krzyzewski is one of the greatest coaches ever. You got to give that man props. He was there. He was there my entire life, like 40 years. This is the first time in my life I've seen another guy coach Duke with John Shire. That's a tough act to follow. John Shire, played with Krzyzewski. He's on that. I think it was that 2010 national title team with Duke. So I believe that was the game against, was it Butler that they beat him? I believe so. Or somebody, I forget who. Maybe Butler, that was 2015, something like that. But yeah, Shire, that's again, tough act to follow. We'll see what he can do. Let's see here. Cable may get it turned around. They'll have to find another loser team to follow. Then I'll have to find well, Jeff Capel, I mean, he's a product of Krzyzewski. Went to Duke as well. He coached Oklahoma. Was on Krzyzewski's staff for a long time. Now he's getting another opportunity in Pittsburgh. Let's see what he can do. I mean, again, it's tough. Coaches need more time. It's like the NFL, Johnny. We talk about it all the time. Coaches need time to develop their players, be able to recruit, establish a foundation, where start winning games. That'll entice more recruits to come to your school. It's a different era now. I get it with the NIL deals and stuff like that, but still you got to follow those principles, those old school principles. Recruit, build a foundation, give it a few years, keep the trajectory upwards, and then you'll have a winning program that you'll keep getting better recruits to come in and keep that foundation going and make that team better each and every year. So hopefully Jeff Capel has that opportunity to do so, and it's up to him. So Johnny, Capel may get it turned around. And okay, you already said that one. All right, so guys, college basketball is about to start. Kansas Baylor. So I'm gonna hit the TV right here, and We'll read one more comment from Johnny. He says, in college basketball, the rule of thumb is 3 years to start showing results, but the turnaround is ridiculous. Yeah, yeah, and that's a good sign. In college football, I always say give a coach 4 years, meaning that's a full class from freshman to senior. I think same thing with college basketball. You got to do that. UNLV hasn't really done that. We've had like 3, 4 head coaches in the last decade. That just isn't going to work. You know, athletic directors sometimes they get too, you know, eager to pull the trigger early. They got to let it develop. And I get it. You know, boosters and people are gonna, especially boosters with money, are going to be like this. If things start to go awry and it doesn't turn around quick enough, you always get the talking going. Puts a lot of pressure on athletic directors. So they got to have self control here. But yeah, it's a good point, Johnny Dean. It's a good point. 3 just because your recruits move on faster. Yeah, that's true. It's a good point. Especially the NBA. It's one and done. In college basketball back in the 90s and early 2000s, it was you didn't leave until after you weren't eligible to leave until after your junior year. So now, then it went to high school. Now it's 1 year out of high school. You see a lot of players even not even go to college. They'll go overseas and play, which is not a bad idea either because you're playing against grown men. You're going to get the pro game, the pro game down a little better than you would in the college game. So, yeah, it's a different world these days. I'm old school. I wish players could have more time to stay in school. If not for nothing, just the experience of playing college basketball. And of course, you want the education, you want that degree to hang on the wall. But if they want to, just get that college experience. There's nothing like it playing college basketball. You talk to the old school players who from the 80s and 90s, they'll tell you how much they loved it. Nowadays, it's like you're lucky to get a great player to come to your university because it's a different world. They want to get to the NBA sooner. They'll go play overseas or they'll go play in the NBA D League, for a year. So I think they're really missing out on what it's like to play college basketball in an environment where, you're going to have those crowds. I think it just pumps your adrenaline up more. It's so much fun to play in front of crowds, And I get it. The NBA, they have some crowds, but it's just that college environment there's nothing like it. It's more intimate, and it's like your adrenaline just gets higher and higher. So I don't know, man. It's just again different world. It is what it is. So exactly, Johnny Dean. Me too. Yep. Oh, and James Canada, thanks for coming in, man. Appreciate you tuning in. He says that's why mid majors are doing better. They have upper classes playing. Yeah, that's a great point. I'm going to star that one, James. That is a great comment right there, everybody. Yeah, and that's why you're seeing teams like Loyola Chicago. Remember that run they went on in the Final Four. They had veteran type teams. They had juniors and seniors on that team. That experience, and that's why you haven't really seen teams like Duke, North Carolina, these major teams, Kentucky. That's why you haven't seen them win national titles. It's because they just have players go in and out after 1 year, and there's no, like camaraderie. There's no chemistry, and you have interchangeable parts each year. And I know Calipari. He had a little ESPN 30 for 30 about that. He doesn't like it either, but he says he's taken advantage of that one and done. So, but that's just how the rules work. And, it's just, Classman, sorry, no worries. Yeah, it's James, I know what you meant. Yeah, like you said, it's a great comment because, like you said, teams like Loyola Chicago, um, eh, those teams have the experience. I think last year, who was in the Final Four? Villanova for the last few years. That's one team that has had players, stay around. Um, Jay Wright's done a great job. Well, he retired now, but he convinced these players to stay another year to win national titles. So, hopefully we see more and more of that in the years to come. But yeah, I would like to see more college basketball teams have that, junior and senior heavy class that can, um, they could stay around, try to. That's why you don't even see repeat national champions. You know, that experience isn't there. So Johnny says the match is boring tonight, Ben. I see it on your TV and you're not watching. Yeah, well, it's Raw's 30th anniversary show, so I just was killing time until Kansas Baylor comes on, and they're playing right now, guys. So I'm gonna wrap this baby up. I didn't think I'd be this long, so I'm gonna take off, guys. Thank you so much for coming on, Johnny, Sean, James Kanata. Thank you for leaving comments. Appreciate it. Um, like I said, I'll probably do the show this weekend. Um, and we'll get more. We'll do a deep dive. We'll even do bracketology. Can't wait for that. So, again, thank you so much, guys, for coming on, leaving comments. Appreciate it. Appreciate the love. And Johnny says, "Good job, bro." Appreciate it, Johnny. Thank you very much. And with that being said, we will see you next time on 2-3 BenZone. And I'll be on Friday night. Have at it at 9 p.m. or at 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific. I'll be on NFL Edition with Johnny, with Alex, and Alec. 9 p.m. Eastern. Well, actually, I'll be on 10 p.m. Eastern because I come in late. 6 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Pacific on Thursday night, NFL Edition Bucks Report. All right, I am headed out. Guys, take care. Have a good night, and I will see you soon.